Oh, well, guess there was something more to be said. There was one other little thing that I wanted to get out, and I don't know if I'll find a link to go with this, but you know how Dimitri Halley says one of his themes or his sayings is, we teach people how to treat us? We magnetize stuff. If we're playing the victim role, the other side of that coin is the aggressor, and you can't have one without the other. If we're playing the aggressor role, we'll magnetize a victim. If we're playing victim, we'll magnetize the aggressor. They're one and the same. They're just different faces on the same being, the same wholeness. It's like a thermometer. It has a top and a bottom, and the victim and the aggressor are polarities of one and the same thing. And so we're not used to seeing life in terms like that. We're not even used to being aware that we do play the victim. And it's a symptom of having given our power away, which we're trained, from a young age, we're trained to how to do that. And we get expert at it. And all of that doesn't matter. It's nothing to be sad or depressed about because it's over. It's finished. All we need to do is stand in heart and be counted, to stand and to be responsible, and to quit getting shoved around and beat up by the mind. Turn your back on that. Step into heart. It's a whole different world in there. Now, what I wanted to share is that the whole concept of a first person perspective is unreal. There's no such thing. And we learn a lot by studying the observation problem. The first thing that we learn is that just by observing, we influence the outcome. And that's shocking, but it's a fact. And so there's a connection there. There's a oneness there. And it's not separate. So you're not an objective observer because the object isn't objective. It's not an object. It's part of the subject. All right. Now, there another way that we do this. So in that way, we influence the object. Well, there's another way, coming at it from the other angle. We project the self onto what is observed. And so that way, we're working with the subject and we're putting that onto the object, as well as simply by observing the object, we're influencing it. And what we'll see once we get over our prejudices and get out of the head and get some openness, let the winds of the spirit flow through us and get a breath of fresh air and think for ourselves for a change, go into heart and not be swayed by others, and that includes me. We see differently, much differently. We can begin to see that we're projecting our own conflicts out into the world. And at a certain point, we even realize that there would be and there could be no war if everyone cleared up their internal conflicts, dealt with and processed their internal anger and fear and whatnot. War simply could not exist. It's a projection of what we've got going on inside. And so many of the master's teachings, can be seen in this way. The golden rule. I used to laugh about that. I really belly laugh. And back in the day, I didn't have anybody to share it with that would get it. But what's so funny is that your neighbor, do unto your neighbor as you would, have done unto yourself. The funny thing is that your neighbor literally is yourself. And it's really true. It's going to take a little while because it's so built into the way we think and even the way we construct our sentences, the way our language is structured. It enforces this subject-object way of thinking and relationship. We've got first person saying I am, second person saying he is, third person they are. And the first person and second person thing don't work because they're blended. They're blended and they're really one thing. And that's what gets me about the fallen ones, the Illuminati, the powers that were, whatever we want to call them, is that it's so pathetic. The horrible, horrible things that they're doing and the tortures and the abuses and all of it. And they haven't got a clue, it appears, that they're only doing this to themselves. If they would just realize it's in their own self-interest to love everyone and to treat everyone with care and respect, because whatever you send out, it's coming back. And that's just not an option, you know, that's just the physics of it, pretty much. I mean, you know, if you're God, you can always alter things. But the way things work, your brother is yourself. And by knowing this, by being in heart, we can come into such an awareness of this that we can actually begin to see it and begin to feel it. And it's just not words on a page or on a video coming out of some strange eyes under some plants, you know? But it can be our own experience. We're pulling away from reliance on anybody and anything, on everybody and everything. We have been betrayed right, left, and center. Everywhere we turned, we were abused and betrayed. And we got into playing the victim for a while, and we did the aggressor thing for a while too. We all have other lifetimes out there, friends, where we're really doing it up on both sides of the coin. So no holier than thou stuff. Let us not be guilty of such nonsense. We are that. And as we come into knowing it, as we're choosing our own beliefs, and we're just not buying it anymore. I don't care what it is, and I don't care who's peddling it. I'm not buying it. If it's not coming to me straight from my heart, if my heart doesn't leap up and say, yeah, right on, I've got no use for it. I'm not interested. We're getting independent again. And will be very, very difficult to corral and control as this moves forward. We're going to be having some mass awakenings that are going to be so much of a shock, especially to the people that wake up. I mean, I can see things coming up, things that have taken people on the spiritual path lifetimes to work on and develop and attain and grow into. Are going to happen in a finger snap. It's going to be so fast, and all of a sudden, the fullness of the understanding is going to be present. It's going to manifest there, and you're going to have an awakened being. And the fallen ones are not going to like it, not one little bit. All of the fear in the world right now, and you know they're working to gin up the fear, this whole Armageddon 2012 end of the world thing. All of that fear, if we could but see it, is the fear of the dark forces. They know they're on the way out. They've got this technology that can time travel and do all the rest of it. They know. And they're scrambling like trapped critters, you know, trying to find a way out, to make a way out, to by force of will, create a way out. And it ain't happening. So if we could just look and see and identify all of that fear, see, they're projecting it on us. Do you see that? Can you see that? Be in your heart. Fear is nonsense. Now, I don't think you can come to this from the mind. I don't know. But even looking at it mentally, fear is nonsense. It's ridiculous. If you're infinite, if you're eternal, if you're spirit and you're one with source, how can you be hurt? If you've had 40 bazillion bodies, the coming and going of them is just not sufficiently important to lift an eyebrow. Come on, it's different perspectives. Expand out into it, into who and what you really are. I'm nothing special here. Nothing that you aren't there just as well, just as full, just as special, just as source. Even the ones that we might be tempted to judge and condemn for the abuses, that they've perpetrated on the rest of us. Oh my God, friends, just look and see they're doing that to themselves. Look at the future they're creating. They're going to do a lot more 3D time. They're terrified. They are so frightened. We're their food source, and we're on our way out. And, I think on our way, we can have the grace and the compassion to have compassion for them. No pity whatsoever. There's no need of that, because within each one of them, there is also source. Now, in the midst of all this awakening that will seem to be tumbling down from the skies or something, just people walking down the street and all of a sudden, experiencing some kind of an awakening. In the midst of all of this, there's going to be some darkness that we're going to see. And I want to make some suggestions here. One of them is to realize there's a lot of clones walking around. There's a lot of people that we think are real people that are not. They're androids, they're programmed, or they're clones, or God knows what. Now, what's going to happen in the midst of ascension to this kind of thing? I don't know, but my suspicion is it's simply going to die. So there may well be a lot of death that we'll see. I mean, some of this stuff might actually disappear if we've got some kind of shape-shifting shenanigans going on. It might just be gone. But when and if you're made aware of a lot of deaths and things, realize that everyone that's ready is going. Not a soul will be left behind that's ready, but there really are a lot of soulless beings on the planet right now. And we can't quite distinguish them yet because our DNA is still kind of scattered. I think a lot of us already have 3 strands operating, but it's a long way to 12. And so part of the awakening is this DNA is getting turned on. And it's built into the biology. We're miraculous beings, nothing short of it. Oh, I remember if you've listened to Alex Collier at all, he's a contactee, face to face and on the ships with the Andromedans. And they tell him that they consider the bodies that we wear to be genetic royalty. There's a lot more to us that we don't know yet. A lot more, as they say, than meets the eye, the physical eye. It's going to take the inner eye to see this. And seeing is doing. Seeing is a real action. It's an inner action. We're going to learn that the mind hamster wheeling around is pointless. Well, activity, for activity's sake, is pointless too. It's no different than the hamster wheeling mind. A lot of what we think is action because we can see it and it's happening physically is nothing. The real action is on the inside. The real shift, the real changes, they're internal. And it's got nothing to do with what's going on physically. We've got to step more and more back from thinking that we're the physical manifestation here. We're not. We contain that. Your body doesn't contain you. You contain your body and the world and so much more. And so I keep calling for a shift in perspective. Expand, keep expanding out. Pretend that you've got the wings of an angel or something. And do whatever it takes to remind yourself to expand out into your fullness, because the mind will want to keep you trapped and looking through the physical eyes and believing that you're just human. And that's the programming. And it doesn't touch the self, who you really are. So throw off the shackles, throw off the chains, throw off the old beliefs, and see yourself for who and what you really are. Recognize and own that there's divinity there, and it's real and it's yours, and it's no sin to take it up. This is to become truly responsible. A responsible light being. This is to no more hide the light under the bushel, as it is said. There is so much in all the various scriptures of the world that speaks right from the heart of truth. And so the pathway is open to everyone, everywhere. I like to think that there are all the different faiths and beliefs, because God isn't prejudiced, and she wanted to have the absolute perfect pathway for every soul's desire and delight. You are being loved. This is a love affair with Source. If you can only see it, and even if you can't see it, it's still that. It's just that it's kind of one-sided, and you're not consciously, actively participating. Have a look, another look at what's happening to you through eyes of heart, and recognize the hand of the divine lover in everything, everywhere. Okay? You're divine. Own it. Good day.